What's up, guys? Got a chance to make another video for you guys today. This will be part one in a two-part. The second part will be the shooting. The first part is going to be the actual swapping out. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you guys how to swap calibers on the Wildcat. I've got a couple parts here in this tube. I've got a barrel kit from an Impact. I got all the part numbers listed here on screen for you guys so you can purchase this stuff should you want to do this. So you're going to need a barrel. This one is from the Impact. The Impact and the Wildcat use the exact same barrel. The shroud is the only thing that is different, and I'll be going over that as far as showing you the difference and what you need to swap out. You're going to need a pellet probe kit in whatever caliber you want, and you're also going to need a magazine in the same caliber as what you're doing. As far as silencers, as long as you got one bigger than what you're going to, you'll be okay. If you have a 30 caliber silencer, it'll be good for 25 and 22. If you have a 22 caliber silencer, you're not going to be able to use it on your 25 and your 30. You obviously have some issues blowing up your silencer, ruining your silencer. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you guys kind of like a tabletop view of what you're going to take apart and what you're going to need to swap over, and we'll go from there. And then you'll be looking for another video coming out in the next day or two of the actual shooting. I'll be shooting several different pellets. I'm curious to see what it'll do for slugs and what speeds we can get out of it, but I got some 25 grain 22 caliber pellets. I've got the 18 grain jumbos. I've got some Hades. I've got some 28 grain varmint knockers, and I've got some poly mags. So I'll be doing some ballistic tests. As far as what I mean by ballistic tests for these, for the pellets, I'm just going to be checking the speed and accuracy, kind of what it translates to for this particular setup. And if I can get the slugs to tune and hold the group pretty good, then I'll probably end up doing some ballistics tests to check the expansion on those and see what they do. If you guys are interested, comment on this video to see if you guys are interested in seeing what the poly mags and the Hades do when I put them through like a ballistics test to see what kind of expansion they get at these speeds. Go to let me know so I can include those in there, and I'll make a bigger video out of it. But for now, let's get started on what you need to do to swap out your barrels or swap out your caliber or change your caliber for your new Wildcat Mark III. Okay, let's go ahead and get started on removing the barrel from the Wildcat. So for starters, you're going to need to take off the cheek piece, which would be this piece right here. There's two screws. They're not in very tight. You can leave your screws in there so they don't fall out. And that's going to expose this one right here, these two screws. This one is the one that keeps your barrel actually locked in. In some cases, this screw here is just a plug, but this will also sometimes be tightened down far enough to where it'll prevent you from pulling the barrel out. So go ahead and loosen this one. And let's see if that's going to be enough to pull it out. Okay, in my case, I will be loosening this one as well. That should be enough to start. Just literally hold on to your stock and grab your shroud and kind of twist it on the way out. And what the twisting does is prevent you from pulling out the O-ring or damaging the O-ring. Okay, got our barrel out. You can set this aside for right now. Now, in here is a caliber exchange kit for the Impact. You can see there is a difference between the shrouds. And if you try, you could swap just the regular Impact barrel on there. But because I'm going to keep it how it came, I want to keep this shroud that came with the Wildcat back on the Wildcat. I'm going to swap them out. And another thing while I got them out, you can see I've got the humid transfer ports on both of these. To get the shroud off, you literally just unscrew it. And again, twist it out as you're pulling it out, just so you don't cause no problems with your O-rings. Okay, Same thing with the Wildcat. Let me get this thing off here. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to take this shroud and put it back on there, the shroud from the impact. And this is actually kind of dry. I can hear it squeaking putting it back on. So before I put that back on, I'm gonna get some more silicone oil, silicone grease, and put it on. And I'll be putting the shroud that came with the Wildcat back on my 22 caliber barrel that I just got out of my kit. Okay, now I've got it swapped. This I'll put back together in a bit. You're also going to need your pellet probe. In the beginning, I put the part number so you can see what part number you actually need. What I like to do is actually make sure to insert your pellet probe into your transfer port and see where it lines up. And it's a good idea to put a reference mark on the back here. That way, whenever you're checking for your alignment again, when you put it back together, you know if your line is lined up with your breech right here, that your pellet probe is lined up with your transfer port. So let me pause that real quick so I can get some more silicone oil so I can put this back together. And I'm also going to put some silicone oil back on this. So let's take a little break real quick. Okay, I went and got some silicone oil and some rags to wipe my fingers off with. And all you're going to do is kind of take some and dab it on the beginning here, and then again about halfway through, because it'll run dry. There's an O-ring on the inside of your shroud, and the impact, actually, this impact shroud has two of them. And as you run it through and twist it, it'll pick up that oil and smear it as it's going down. And as you can hear, it's much more smooth now. So you run that in there, tighten it up, till it's snug, clean everything off. Okay, and let's throw this back in the case. Okay, now the pellet probe, I got some tape for it. What you're going to do is line this up in there to where where the hole in your pellet probe lines up with the hole in your transfer port. Then you can either use a marker, or in my case I just got some tape, and you're going to run it right at the end of the breech. And just kind of get it started. And run that all the way around. You can use a black Sharpie or a marker, whatever it is you have. Tape's easy enough to pull out. And what that's going to do is verify your alignment. So that way, once you put everything back together, you'll know if your pellet probe is flush with the breech here, that your transfer port and your pellet probe hole are lined up properly. So that's a good thing to do, just to make sure that you don't got nothing off after you go through all the trouble. So from here, let's put our oil away. Before I put the barrel in, I'm going to swap out the pellet probe. So for the pellet probe, to swap that out, you're going to look through this hole right here, and you'll see it all the way through. And what you're going to do is you're going to cock back your hammer a bit and look down this hole, and you'll see a little Allen screw come up through there. And you're going to take your Allen wrench, stick that down in there, and unthread that. And it's a long bolt, it goes all the way through, So make sure you unthread it all the way. And it's not going to come up. You can push pressure on the Allen and pull it out, and it'll end up coming out. It's one way to get it out. And then from there, you literally can just wiggle your probe back out. Now, to get it all the way out, you're going to have to take off your power wheel. To do that, just need your Allen wrench, undo the center screw, thread that out, unthread that. Now, hold on to your power wheel when you do this, because there's a little steel BB in there that you do not want to lose. And here's the BB. You do not want to lose that. I've lost that before. And your pellet probe will come all the way out. And let me pause because the chicken jumped up on the table. Okay, I'm back. So we have the pellet probe out, your hammer wheel out. We're going to take the new pellet probe that we've already kind of marked. You're going to make sure that the hole or the port is facing down. Slide it back in there. And you're going to keep an eye. Use one of your Allens to push it back. Keep an eye on the hole. You only need it to go in as far as where it lines up. And I'm making sure that it's facing down. Okay, and it's easiest if you stick an Allen wrench all the way through. That way, when you go to start your thread on your bolt to put it back together, you have it lined up. Sometimes it's kind of troublesome to get it to thread back together. So make sure you're there. Drop this in. And with some luck, you'll get it quickly. And I lucked out. Okay, got that threaded back together. When you put your BB, this is for your reassembling your power wheel. When you want to put your BB back, it's best to hold your gun, point your gun down, and set the BB in the little hole. Okay, I kind of got to do this off camera just because of the room. And start your threads. And once you got the thread started, see it's still very loose. Once you at least got the BB trapped on there, you can put everything back together. Okay, and I gotta pause again to throw the chicken off the table. Okay, sorry about that. For some reason, that chicken likes to lay her eggs up on the table. Okay, so once you got that put back together, this is tight. You're going to go ahead and insert your barrel. So it's got a notch on the bottom of it where the transfer port is. That notch lines up with the notch in the receiver here. And you got to make sure that those are put together, lined up. Just wiggle it in there. It'll help to keep your bolt slightly open so you're not scratching anything up. And when you feel it kind of stop, you're going to twist your barrel back and forth until you feel that notch line up. And you can actually see in the back where the notch is. Now let me seat this barrel real quick. Okay, when it's seated, you'll see the brass piece of your transfer port sticking out the back, and you'll see it flush. So at this point, go ahead and close your bolt, and you can see here my tape is almost exactly flush with my transfer port. So that way I know my transfer port and pellet probe alignment is good. And I can just take my tape off, if I can get it off of there. Okay, and we're going to reseat the screws. You want to make sure that these are kind of snug because you don't want anything shifting on you. Okay, where everything's snug there, so everything's back in. From here, we're going to take our cheek piece. Our screws fell out of it. Set them back in there. Assemble your cheek piece. And that is about it. We're about wrapped up. Now, from here, I did not put any lube on the oil on the pellet probe itself, and you do kind of want some on there. Without that being lubricated, you're going to have a chance of the transfer port not sealing. So you don't want too much. Just dab a bit on there and kind of rub it around. And that should be enough. Make sure you clean your hands good unless you want your gun full of oil spots from the silicone oil. And that's it. Make sure that everything cycles properly. We're good there. And the next thing you need is the magazine, and you're good to go. Load everything up, and that's how you swap it out. Now, earlier I said you can keep the impact shroud on there, but I also have an impact, so in case I want to put this barrel that I just took off back in my impact, I swapped the shrouds and kept the shroud that came with the Wildcat on the Wildcat, because I probably will end up converting that. Right now my impact is set up for 30 caliber, and I currently have it tuned for pellets. I've got the EBR online, or the Lockdown Edition tournament thing coming up where everybody's shooting their targets at their own house. So the impact is set up for that. I want to shoot this in 22 caliber. If you guys want to see the shooting video, that'll be coming up next. If you guys have any questions about the barrel swap, leave your stuff in the comments. Leave your questions in the comments, and I'll get back to everybody. And hopefully I was able to help somebody, enough of you guys out. As far as where I got the pellet probe, I got it from FX directly. I was kind of been waiting for a couple dealers to get them in stock, but that didn't happen, and I reached out to FX, and I was able to purchase 2 of them from them, and they sent me 2 of them within like 3 or 4 days. I got them from the time that I ordered them. So that was real quick. Any other questions, like I said, leave them in the comments. If not, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.